Look, we live in an era of marketing magic. Every month, some company drops a new polymer striker-fired wonder that claims to be the next revolution. But you and I both know that a glossy brochure doesn't mean a thing when you're shooting in the rain, the mud, or when your heart rate is hitting 160 beats per minute. Today, we are stripping back the hype. We are looking at the heavy hitters, the iron, and the engineering that has been dragged through the dirt of battlefields and the grit of the high-stakes range, and came out the other side still clicking. From the century-old genius of John Moses Browning to the space-age modularity of the modern era, I'm counting down the 10 handguns that didn't just meet the standard, they created it. Whether you are a professional carrying for duty or a dedicated citizen carrying for protection, grab your ear pro, check your chamber, and settle in. We are going deep into the steel. Let's get to work. Number 10, Sig Sauer P320. The firearm that fundamentally redefined the concept of modularity in the 21st century. Now, before the P320 hit the scene, if you wanted a different grip size or a shorter barrel, you were basically buying a whole new gun. Sig looked at that traditional manufacturing logic and decided to blow the doors off the hinges. The soul of this handgun is the stainless steel fire control unit, or the FCU. This is the only part of the gun that has a serial number. Because of this, the P320 isn't just a pistol, it is a chameleon. You can take that one FCU and drop it into a full-size frame for home defense, and 5 minutes later, swap it into a subcompact grip module for deep concealment. From a technical standpoint, this allows for a level of customization that is simply unmatched. You can change your caliber from a 9mm to a 357 SIG or a 40 S&W just by swapping the slide and barrel. When you look at the internal sear geometry, Sig engineered a trigger that provides one of the cleanest breaks in the striker-fired world. You're getting a consistent 5.5 to 6 pound pull with a remarkably short and tactile reset. This means that when you are running double taps or rapid fire strings, your finger doesn't have to travel a country mile to get back on that wall. The reset is snappy, loud, and you can feel it right through your gloves. The slide features aggressive front and rear cocking serrations that are deep enough to give you a positive grip, even if your hands are covered in rain, mud, or gun oil. The grip modules themselves are designed with a 360-degree texture that provides a solid purchase without being so abrasive that it shreds your skin during an 8-hour training course. If we're being completely honest, the P320 has a noticeably high bore axis. The distance from the center of the barrel to the top of your hand is greater than what you'll find on a Glock or a CZ. This creates a longer lever arm, which naturally results in more muzzle flip. If you aren't disciplined with your support hand tension, you'll find the front sight tracking in a much larger arc than you might like during high cadence fire. Because this is a modular system, the tolerances between the FCU and the various grip modules can sometimes vary. You really have to keep an eye on the rail lubrication. If you run this gun bone dry in a sandy environment, that modular chassis can start to accumulate grit in places a standard frame wouldn't, which can lead to a sluggish slide cycle if you aren't staying on top of your cleaning regimen. Number 9, Glock 17. You cannot have a conversation about professional grade sidearms without mentioning the plastic fantastic that started it all, the Glock 17. Back in the early 1980s, Gaston Glock, a man who wasn't even a gun designer by trade, built a pistol that the experts said was impossible. They thought a polymer frame would melt or shatter under pressure, but 40 years later, the Glock 17 remains the benchmark for go-to-war reliability. Mechanically, what makes the Glock 17 a tank is the treatment of its steel. Whether it's the older Tennifer finish or the modern NDLC coating on the Generation 5 models, this slide is essentially diamond hard. It is incredibly resistant to corrosion, scratches, and the general salt and sweat of daily carry. Inside, the design is brilliantly simple, only 34 individual parts. In the world of gunsmithing, fewer parts mean fewer points of failure. If a spring breaks, you can detail strip this entire handgun with a single punch tool in under 2 minutes. Unlike traditional hammer-fired guns with manual safeties, the Glock uses the Safe Action system. This consists of 3 independent mechanical safeties: the trigger safety, the firing pin safety, and the drop safety. Technically, this means the gun is completely inert unless that trigger is fully depressed. It provides a consistent 5.5 pound pull every single time. There's no transition from double action to single action to worry about. Your first shot feels exactly like your last shot. The Glock 17 set the industry standard for magazine geometry. Not only are the factory magazines virtually indestructible with their steel-lined polymer construction, but they are also ubiquitous. If you run out of ammo in a gunfight, chances are the guy next to you is carrying a mag that fits your gun. Furthermore, the aftermarket support is endless. You can change every single component from match-grade barrels to custom slides and performance triggers without ever needing a professional machinist. While the Glock is reliable, it isn't exactly a luxury car. The grip angle is a steep 22 degrees, which is different from the more natural 18-degree angle found on a 1911. This often causes shooters to point the gun high naturally. Additionally, many shooters experience Glock knuckle, where the underside of the trigger guard rubs against the middle finger during high-volume shooting. Unless you're willing to do some Dremel work to undercut that trigger guard, it can get uncomfortable after a 300-round day. It is a well-known industry joke that the first thing you do with a new Glock is throw the sights in the trash. The factory U-dot sights are made of soft plastic. If you catch them on a barricade or drop the gun on concrete, they can deform or even shear off completely. For a gun built on reliability, shipping with plastic sights is a major technical oversight that requires an immediate $50 to $100 upgrade to Steel Knight sights. Number 8, Beretta 980 2FS. We are looking at a masterpiece of Italian engineering that served as the primary sidearm for the United States military for over 3 decades. The Beretta 92FS, or the M9 as the grunts called it, is perhaps the most recognizable silhouette in the world of handguns. While some people complain about its size, there is no denying that this is one of the smoothest shooting, most reliable hammer-fired pistols ever built. One of the most unique technical features of the 92FS is the open-top slide. Unlike most modern pistols where the slide encases the barrel, Beretta left the top of the barrel exposed. This isn't just for looks. This design virtually eliminates stovepipe malfunctions because there is almost no metal in the way of an ejecting shell casing. If that brass wants to get out, it gets out. Instead of using the standard Browning tilting barrel system found in almost every other gun on this list, the Beretta uses a falling locking block. This means the barrel stays perfectly horizontal during the entire cycling process. From a technical standpoint, this leads to an incredibly smooth recoil impulse and superior mechanical accuracy because the sights and the bore stay on a more consistent plane during the shot sequence. The 92FS operates on a traditional hammer system. Your first trigger press is a long, heavy 10-pound pull that acts as an inherent safety. Every subsequent shot is a crisp, light 4-pound single-action break. This gives you the peace of mind of a heavy first pull while carrying, but the speed and precision of a match-grade trigger for the rest of the magazine. Let's call a spade a spade. This gun is a chunk because the frame has to accommodate a double-stack 15-round magazine and a thick aluminum grip panels. It can be a real handful for shooters with smaller or medium-sized hands. If you can't get a full wrap around that grip, you're going to struggle to reach the magazine release or the slide decocker without shifting your entire shooting grip, which is a major tactical disadvantage in a high-stress reload. This is the biggest technical gripe most shooters have. The safety/decocker is located on the slide itself rather than the frame. This is a poor ergonomic choice because if you are racking the slide aggressively under pressure, it is very easy to accidentally engage the safety, leaving you with a dead trigger when you go to take your shot. It requires specific repetitive training to ensure you don't inadvertently safe your gun during a malfunction clearance. Number 7, CZ75. A piece of Cold War mastery that remains one of the most copied handgun designs in history. Originally out of Czechoslovakia, this pistol wasn't widely available in the States for years, which gave it a forbidden fruit status. Once it arrived, American shooters realized it was one of the most balanced, naturally pointing handguns ever made. This is the technical secret sauce of the CZ75. In most handguns, the slide rails sit on the outside of the frame. CZ inverted this, putting the slide rails inside the frame. This results in a much tighter slide-to-frame fitment. Because the slide is physically smaller and sits lower in the frame, you get an incredibly low bore axis. When you fire this gun, the recoil impulse travels straight back into the web of your hand rather than flipping the muzzle up. It tracks like a laser beam. Much like the Beretta we just talked about, the CZ75 is a double-action, single-action system. However, the CZ is famous for its command start capability. It has a manual safety that allows you to carry it cocked and locked like a 1911. This gives you a crisp, short, single-action trigger press for your very first shot, which is a massive advantage in competitive shooting or high-stakes defensive scenarios. In an era dominated by polymer, the CZ75 is a heavyweight contender built from forged steel. That extra mass coming in at around 2.2 pounds acts as a natural dampener for recoil. You can shoot 9mm plus P-loads through this all day long, and it feels like you're shooting a .22. It's a soft shooting tack driver. The same design feature that makes it shoot so well the slide inside frame rails is also its biggest technical drawback. Because the slide is tucked inside the frame, there is very little surface area for you to grab when you need to rack the slide. If you're performing a high-speed emergency reload or clearing a double feed with sweaty hands, it is very easy for your fingers to slip off. It requires a specific slingshot technique rather than a full-hand overhand grip. Factory CZ triggers are notorious for having a bit of camming in the single-action pull, where you can actually see the hammer move slightly backward before it drops. To get that legendary glass break trigger people rave about, you usually have to invest in an aftermarket kit or spend a few $100s at a specialized gunsmith. Out of the box, the double-action pull can be a bit gritty and requires a serious break-in period of at least 500 rounds. Number 6. Smith & Wesson M&P 9. The American-made workhorse that challenged the European polymer kings. When Smith & Wesson launched the military and police line back in 2005, they weren't just looking to build another striker-fired gun. They wanted to create a platform with superior ergonomics and a softer shooting experience than the competition. Over the years, especially with the 2.0 updates, they have absolutely succeeded. The standout technical feature of the M&P 9 is its grip geometry. Unlike the blocky feel of other polymer guns, the M&P has a natural 18-degree grip angle that mimics the classic 1911. It comes with 4 interchangeable Palmswell grip inserts, allowing you to customize the trigger reach and palm fill to your exact hand size. The 2.0 version features an incredibly aggressive, sandpaper-like texture. This ensures that the gun stays locked in your hand during high cadence fire, even if you are operating in high humidity environments or wearing tactical gloves. Smith & Wesson engineered the M&P with an extended stainless steel chassis embedded within the polymer frame. This reduces frame flex during the recoil cycle, which theoretically improves long-term durability and consistency. The slide itself has a very low profile and a tapered design, which helps in reducing the overall mass of the moving parts. This results in a flatter recoil impulse, allowing the shooter to get their sights back on target faster than almost any other duty-sized handgun in its class. The slide features unique, patented fish scale cocking serrations. Technically, these provide multiple contact points for your fingers, making it easy to rack the slide even when using a power stroke method from the rear. Additionally, there is a physical witness hole at the top of the barrel, a visual loaded chamber indicator that allows for a quick safety check without needing to perform a full press check. This is the most controversial part of the M&P 9's technical design. Instead of a trigger safety blade, Smith & Wesson used a hinged trigger. Many shooters find this design to feel mushy or rubbery at the break. While the 2.0 models improve the reset, it still lacks that crisp, glass-like snap found on high-end European rivals. Many professional users end up spending an extra $150 on an Apex tactical trigger kit to fix this specific mechanical dead spot. On many M&P models, the slide stop is quite small and low profile. While this prevents accidental engagement during shooting, it can be very difficult to use as a slide release during an emergency reload. Furthermore, some users report that slamming a fresh magazine into the well with enough force will cause the slide to auto-forward, chambering around on its own. While some see this as a feature, from a technical and safety standpoint, it is an inconsistent mechanical behavior that can catch an untrained shooter off guard. Number 5, H&K VP9, the striker-fired masterpiece from Germany. For decades, Heckler & Koch were known as the kings of hammer-fired combat pistols, but when they finally jumped into the modern striker-fired market, they didn't just participate, they dominated the conversation on ergonomics. The VP stands for Volkspistole, or People's Pistol, but don't let the name fool you. The engineering inside this gun is pure elite-tier German machinery. From a technical standpoint, the VP9 offers the most customizable grip on the market today. While most manufacturers give you a few backstraps, H&K provides interchangeable backstraps and lateral side panels. This gives you 27 different grip configurations. You can literally sculpt the frame to fit the unique geometry of your palm and the length of your trigger finger. This results in a level of control over the recoil impulse that is virtually unmatched in the polymer world. H&K engineers spent years perfecting the trigger pull on the VP9. What they achieved is a very short, light take-up followed by a clean, single-stage break that feels like snapping a glass rod. The reset is incredibly short and positive. Technically, this allows the shooter to maintain a high rate of fire without short-stroking the trigger under stress. Many shooters consider this to be the finest factory striker-fired trigger ever produced, outclassing even customized competition guns. At the rear of the slide, you'll find patented charging supports, small polymer wings that provide extra leverage when racking the slide. This is a massive technical benefit for shooters with weaker hand strength or those operating in freezing conditions with heavy gloves. Furthermore, the barrel is cold hammer forged with polygonal rifling. Unlike traditional lands and grooves rifling, polygonal rifling creates a tighter gas seal around the bullet, which technically increases muzzle velocity and extends the service life of the barrel to tens of thousands of rounds. While Europeans love it, many American shooters find the paddle-style magazine release located on the trigger guard to be a major technical hurdle. If you have spent your whole life training with a thumb button release, the muscle memory gap can be dangerous in a high-speed reload. It requires you to use your trigger finger or middle finger to drop the mag, which can feel unnatural and may cause you to break your master grip on the firearm. Some high-volume shooters have noted that the polymer cocking indicator cap at the rear of the slide can become brittle or even pop off after several thousand rounds of high-pressure ammo. While it doesn't necessarily stop the gun from firing, it is a small mechanical failure point that seems out of place on a firearm that is otherwise built to such an incredibly high standard of German over-engineering. Number 4. Benelli M4. We are shifting gears to the absolute gold standard of combat shotguns, the Benelli M4. When the United States Marine Corps put out a request for a new semi-automatic shotgun in the late 1990s, they didn't want something that just worked on a sunny day at the clay range. They wanted a weapon that could chew through thousands of rounds of high brass buckshot in the worst conditions on Earth without cleaning. The M4 didn't just meet those standards, it crushed them. The heart of the M4 is the auto-regulating gas-operated system, or ARGO. Unlike traditional gas shotguns that use complex linkages and O-rings that can melt or fail, the Benelli uses two short-stroke stainless steel pistons located just ahead of the chamber. This is a technical masterpiece because it is self-cleaning. The high-pressure gases blow any carbon fouling right out of the system. This allows the M4 to cycle everything from low-recoil tactical buckshot to 3-inch Magnum slugs with zero adjustments. It is, quite simply, the most reliable gas system ever put into a scattergun. The M4 utilizes a rotating bolt head that locks directly into the barrel extension. From a metallurgical standpoint, this ensures a rock-solid lockup that can handle the massive pressures of combat-grade shells. This design also contributes to the gun's incredible speed. The cyclic rate is faster than most human beings can pull the trigger. If you need to put 6 rounds of double-aught buckshot down range in under 2 seconds, this is the tool for the job. Straight from the factory, the M4 comes with military-grade ghost ring sights that allow for rapid target acquisition and precise slug placement out to 100 yards. The integrated Picatinny rail on top of the receiver is drilled and tapped into the steel, giving you a solid platform for a rugged red dot like an Aimpoint or a Trijicon RMR. Due to federal importation laws, the civilian version of the M4 usually ships with a 5-round magazine tube. For a combat shotgun, that is a major technical bottleneck. To get the proper military spec 7-round capacity, you have to spend an extra $200 on an aftermarket titanium tube and ensure you are compliant with 922R regulations by swapping out other American-made parts. It's a frustrating legal hoop to jump through for a premium firearm. The M4 is a heavy beast, weighing in at nearly 8 pounds empty. When you start adding optics, lights, and a full tube of shells, it becomes a lot of mass to swing around in a tight hallway. Additionally, the manual of arms is more complex than a standard pump action. You have to understand the carrier release button and the specific way the shell latches interact, or you might find yourself with a click instead of a boom during a high-stress reload if you haven't put in the training time. Number 3, Colt 1911, the granddaddy of them all. Designed by the legend himself, John Moses Browning, this slab-sided piece of American history served as the standard-issue sidearm for the United States military for 74 years. We are talking about 2 world wars, Korea and Vietnam. While the world has largely moved on to polymer and strikers, the 1911 remains the gold standard for trigger feel and mechanical soul. When you hold a 1911, you aren't just holding a gun, you're holding a century of combat heritage. From a purely technical standpoint, no striker-fired gun can ever hope to match the trigger of a well-tuned 1911. Because the trigger travels straight back on a track rather than pivoting on a pin, the break is instantaneous and crisp. You are looking at a factory pull usually around 4 to 5 pounds, but in a custom shop, that can be tuned down to a hair trigger 2-pound break. The reset is measured in millimeters. This mechanical advantage is why the 1911 is still the dominant platform in professional precision shooting competitions. Despite being over 100 years old, the 1911 is incredibly slim. Because it uses a single stack magazine, the grip is remarkably narrow, making it one of the most comfortable firearms to hold for shooters of all hand sizes. The all-steel construction, usually forged carbon steel or stainless steel, provides a level of heft that naturally soaks up the recoil of the heavy .45 ACP cartridge. It doesn't snap like a polymer 9mm, it pushes with a predictable rhythmic impulse. This gun introduced the world to the short recoil tilting barrel system that 90% of the guns on this list still use today. The swinging link and the dual locking lugs on top of the barrel ensure a massive amount of surface area is locked into the slide during the high pressure stage of the shot. This leads to incredible mechanical accuracy and a lockup that feels like a bank vault. In a world of 17-round magazines, the 1911's 7 or 8 round capacity is its biggest technical bottleneck. You have to be twice as fast and twice as accurate because you have half the ammo. Furthermore, this is not a low-maintenance firearm. A 1911 requires a break-in period and likes to be run wet, meaning you need to keep those steel rails heavily lubricated with high-quality gun oil. If you treat it like a Glock and let it get bone dry and dirty, the tight tolerances will eventually lead to a failure to battery or a failure to feed. The 1911 is designed to be carried. Condition 1 cocked and locked with the hammer back and the manual safety engaged. For a novice shooter, this requires a significant amount of training to master. You have to remember to swipe that thumb safety down every single time you draw. If you don't build that muscle memory, you'll be standing there pulling a dead trigger when it matters most. It is an expert's gun that demands respect and constant practice. Number 2, Sig Sauer P226. If the 1911 is the grandfather of combat handguns, the P226 is the elite operator who perfected the craft. Developed for the U.S. Army's service pistol trials in the 1980s, it famously lost out to Beretta due to total package costs, but it won the hearts of the Navy SEALs, who carried it into the most hostile environments on the planet for decades. This is a zero-fail firearm, an over-engineered tank designed to work when everything else has gone to hell. Unlike striker-fired guns that rely on internal safeties alone, the P226 utilizes a unique 4-point system. It features a patented decocking lever, a patented firing pin safety, a hammer intercept notch, and a trigger bar disconnector. From a technical perspective, this allows you to carry a round in the chamber with the hammer down in total safety. There are no external manual safeties to fumble with. The safety is your deliberate 10-pound double-action trigger pull. It is a masterpiece of mechanical redundancy. The slide is milled from a solid block of stainless steel and treated with a black nitron finish for extreme corrosion resistance. This is paired with a hard anodized aircraft-grade aluminum alloy frame. This combination gives the gun a sole and a weight roughly 2.1 pounds that balances perfectly in the hand. The technical benefit here is the frame-to-slide fitment. SIG's tolerances are legendary, providing a bank vault lockup that contributes to its match-grade accuracy out of the box. Many modern P226 models come equipped with the SRT system. Technically, this reduces the trigger reset by approximately 60%. In a rapid-fire scenario, your finger barely has to move forward before you hear that click and are ready to send the next round. It turns a combat handgun into a high-speed precision instrument. Much like its younger brother, the P320, the P226 sits very high in the hand. The distance from the center of the bore to the top of the shooter's grip is significant. This results in more rotational recoil or muzzle flip compared to a lower profile gun like a Glock. It requires a very strong high-tang grip to master the recoil and get the sights back on target quickly for follow-up shots. Because the slide release lever is located quite far back on the frame, many shooters who use a modern thumbs forward grip will accidentally ride their thumb on the lever. This prevents the slide from locking back on an empty magazine. It is a technical ergonomic quirk that requires the shooter to either change their grip style or train extensively to keep their thumb away from that specific control area. Number 1. Glock 918. If you were to ask 1,000 professionals what the single most versatile, reliable, and perfect handgun in existence is, the vast majority would point right here. The Glock 19 is the Goldilocks of guns. It is small enough to conceal every single day, yet large enough to take into a full-blown combat zone. It is the yardstick by which every other polymer pistol is measured, and despite decades of competition, it still holds the crown. The technical genius of the Glock 19 lies in its dimensions. By shortening the barrel to 4.02 inches and the grip to hold a 15-round magazine, Glock created a firearm that balances perfectly in the hand. It has enough mass to soak up recoil, but a short enough slide to cycle with incredible speed. From a mechanical standpoint, the timing of the Glock 19's action is nearly flawless. It cycles reliably with everything from cheap steel-cased practice ammo to high-pressure 147-grain subsonic defensive rounds. It simply does not care what you feed it. In the latest Generation 5 models, Glock introduced the Glock Marksman Barrel. Technically, this features a modified polygonal rifling and a crown that is precision cut to improve mechanical accuracy. While older Glocks were service accurate, the 19 Gen 5 can hold groups that rival custom match pistols. Additionally, the removal of finger grooves and the addition of an ambidextrous slide stop means the gun is now technically accessible to every shooter, regardless of hand size or orientation. The Glock 19 is the most supported mechanical platform on Earth. Every police department, every gun store, and every tactical unit carries parts for this gun. Technically, this means that even in a worst-case scenario, you can find magazines, holsters, and replacement springs in any corner of the globe. It is the Toyota Corolla of firearms. It isn't fancy, but it will start every single time you turn the key, even after 100,000 rounds. If there is a technical complaint to be made, it's that the Glock 19 is boringly reliable. The trigger, while consistent, is often described as mushy or like snapping a plastic carrot. It lacks the mechanical crispness of a hammer-fired 1911 or the refined break of an H&K. For the enthusiast who appreciates fine machining and a beautiful aesthetic, the Glock 19 feels like a disposable tool rather than a piece of craftsmanship. Despite being #1, the Glock 19 still ships with those same terrible plastic sights we mentioned earlier. Furthermore, the factory slide release is so low profile that many users find it impossible to use under stress. From a technical standpoint, to make this gun truly perfect, the end user almost always has to spend an additional $150 on steel sights and an extended slide control, which is a frustrating reality for the world's most popular pistol. That completes the lineup, folks. 10 machines that represent the pinnacle of ballistic reliability. But before we pack up the gear, I want to leave you with one final truth. The most expensive, custom-tuned, race-ready handgun in the world is nothing more than a heavy paperweight if you don't put in the trigger time. Gear is great, but the person behind the sights is what matters. Don't just buy the legend, become the shooter that deserves it. So, if this deep dive gave you some value today, do me a solid, hit that subscribe button, ring that notification bell, and join the community. I want to hear from you down in the comments. If the world was ending tomorrow and you could only grab one of these 10 off your workbench, which one are you betting your life on? I'll be down there responding to your picks. Until next time, stay safe, keep your powder dry, and never stop training. Stay sharp.